Hi everyone, this is Sasha, Suzy and Rak from Women's Fight News. Rak, I'm going to start with you. How is life treating you? It's been a while since we've had you on.
Well, it's been a busy start to the new year. KSI card, Eubank Smith cards, and of course last week Yard Bataviev cards. So I've been keeping active and about. This is the first week. This is the first, big women's event happening this year. So it's good to see that it's getting off to a great start. Double undisputed cards. So yeah, I look forward to that.
Yeah, you've been busy. The complete opposite to me and Suzy, because like you've just said, there's not really been a great deal. But it's okay because we're back with a bang for women's boxing, aren't we, Suzy?
Yeah, what a card to start off the new year with, really. We were just talking just before it all started, saying, you know, it is great. The two undisputed fights, women heavy card. What more can we ask? And Madison Square Gardens.
I'm really excited for this card, like really, really excited. And I kind of wish I always wish I'm in New York. It's my favorite place. But, you know, what day are we on today? Monday. I've still got hope that I might fly out and watch it. I don't know how. I don't know how and who's paying for it, but I have still got that dream.
You might win a last minute competition. Fly you out to New York. Like, who knows?
I remember a while back, Jake Paul done a competition for one of his fights in America, and I remember someone from the UK winning, and they were outraged that I think they didn't get flights included, but they got like 4 nights free hotels. Like, I would take that all day.
Well, you never know who's watching. There might be someone watching this channel being like, I know, I'll treat Sasha. She can go.
She needs a break this year. She can go. But regardless.
A break is needed, I must say. 30 days in.
Yeah. So whether I'm there or not, I am actually just so excited for it. So what we'll do today is kind of go through, and there's 5 female fights on this card. So it's obviously, like you said, Suzy, a very female heavy card, which I love to see. And I kind of love how it feels like the norm now. Like, I know we're mentioning the fact it's female heavy, but it doesn't look abnormal at all. It just looks like a card. That's it. I'm excited for it.
That just goes to show the progress that you can have all female cards on big platforms these days. And I know there's been, for the last few years, you get in Dominican Republic, you get in Japan, you get all over that you have all female cards. But these ones are cards where it's not just the locals looking, it's the whole world, you know, undisputed, top of the pound for pound list. You got those kind of fights going on. And that's good. That just shows progression. Because I remember a few years ago, you was barely getting one female fighter on a televised card. Now you've got a predominantly stacked female card with world champions fighting. So It's all going in the right direction.
Yeah, it is.
And treated like stars, treated like the athletes they are. Like, for instance, today's head-to-heads, how epic did they look? I don't know what building that was, but that looked amazing with the view, with Eddie there, with the 2 undisputed fighters head-to-head.
Yeah, I think that's the new tourist attraction, isn't it? Is it called The Edge, I think?
Okay.
And I think that's like the new, like the best views in New York that you can get now, and it looked unreal. But I did think I hope none of them were scared of heights, because it's just pure glass, isn't it?
Yeah, I hate that. Oh.
Yeah, but it looked absolutely awesome. And obviously, I think as of Wednesday, the regular fight week will then continue. So obviously, we'll have public workouts, press conference. I don't think the press conference is going to be that heated by anyone, but we'll go through the fights. Obviously, the weigh-in and then fight night on Saturday. Let's start with this fight. So it's Ramla is fighting against Avril Mathie. Now, Rak, we'll go to you first. Have you seen much of Avril? Because there's not a ton of footage of her online.
So Avril Mathie, I'm aware who she is in Australia, or similar to your friends, an Australian boxer, decided to take her careers overseas, and she's been getting herself about. She put up a pretty good, decent record of it. But outside of that, I've not seen much footage of her fights. I do know she does modeling. I do know she does quite a bit outside of boxing. She has got a decent profile. But I think Ramla may be probably a bit too much for her. Ramla's was an Olympian. She fought at a pretty decent level as an amateur. So far, she's been building up. She's been having a variation of fighters she's been fighting against. And especially from her last win, the way she got out of there so quickly, I think right now Ramla definitely is probably the favourite going to this fight, but it's an opportunity for Avril. We'll see what she brings to the table in the day.
Yeah. Suzy, have you seen much of Avril? Like I say, I think I managed to only see, I think, 2 small clips really of her.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of one of her fights, and I've seen bits of other fights. I think, I mean, like you're saying, Avril's got quite a bit of a profile, sort of outside of boxing, more modelling, that kind of thing. So we see more of her that way, and she brings a lot to the table because she's high profile, brings eyes to, again, different audience to the event. In terms of the actual boxing, I think that Ramla definitely wins this one for me. Avril's got looks on paper a bit of a decent record, but if you actually look at who she's fought, there's no one of note. So she might surprise us on the night, but just based on who she's actually fought and just looking at the 2 styles between Ramla and Avril, I just feel like that there are 2 different points in their career. I feel like that Ramla's that one level, quite a few levels above at the moment. So I think it's going to be Ramla's going to sort of outclass her, definitely.
Yeah. It's a funny one because I feel like it's one of them fights where they've put it together because you look at the record and you can say, right, they're both unbeaten. But really, I think when you dig into it, I'm not convinced this is a step up for Ramla at all. The clips that I've seen of Avril, I think she's just too slow. I think her hand speed's too slow. Her foot speed isn't great. I just think Ramla's going to pick her apart a little bit. And I think Avril's being super active. I think she had 1 fight in 2022, 2 fights in 2021, and 1 fight in 2020. So it's not very active. I'm just not convinced, and I'm not convinced it's a step up that I was expecting Ramla to have. Obviously, she blew away her last opponent in the first round in Saudi Arabia. And I was expecting I think she went off and she was injured then, wasn't she, Ramla Ali? But I don't know, I was just expecting a bigger step up for this fight. And on paper, it looks like it. But from what I've seen of Avril, I'm not convinced it even goes the distance, if I'm honest.
So the thing about Ramla and Avril, the good thing about them is that they're female fighters of today's modern day and age, where they bring a lot more to the table than just what they do inside the ring. Both girls have extensive portfolios outside. Avril does modelling, she does quite a few influencer bits. Ramla does a lot of civil rights movements, a lot of speeches for her home country. So both of them are high-profile fighters in their own right and high-profile names in their own fields. So definitely on the boxing side, I would say that Ramla is probably a bit further ahead. She's definitely the favourite to win. But I do think it's great when you're getting 2 female fighters who have such a broad profile, bringing it to these kind of events and kind of showcasing and showing that this is what I do and this is how good I am. It is a good reflection for their fans, for extended fans, and people just generally around the sport. Like, these girls have names for themselves, and giving this platform, giving this opportunity.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like I say, I mean, Avril obviously brings fans and eyes to the sport as well. It's a good platform for her. She might take advantage of it. But yeah, just from what I've seen, because as well, something with Ramla is she works that jab very well. She's got good footwork. But the last fight, she was so aggressive. She was so aggressive in that last fight, and she picked her shots off well. And just from what I've seen of Avril, she kind of, and again, I've only seen 2 fights, but she stood very central and was just willing to trade. And I think that's a very, very dangerous game against someone like Ramla Ali.
Yeah, she hasn't the head movement. She's not got just get caught.
Yeah, and again, I mean, to be fair, like I say, there's not tons of footage out there, and you always step up when your opponent, is a higher level. So you never know. I get why they're doing it. I get why this is the opponent they've picked. It, like I say, on paper. I mean, you've got Ramla Ali is 7-0 with 2 KOs, and then you've got Avril is 8-0 with 1 draw, and she's 3 KOs. So on paper, they look virtually even. So at least I suppose you've got that for the build up for different eyes, I suppose, coming to the sport. But for me, I think it's an easy fight for Ramla.
And also, Avril seems like the loveliest person as well. So I think come fight week, like you're saying, if you're looking at it in terms of the build up and the personalities and doing the promo for it, she's going to come across brilliant in that regard.
Yeah, and two models, because obviously Ramla Ali is a model as well, so you've got two models going at it as well. But yeah, like I say, I think for me this is an easy one from Ramla, and I would really like to see quite a big step up in the next fight when she gets past this one, definitely. I believe this is for a title as well, isn't it? A super bantamweight title.
Yeah, the
IBF Intercontinental Super Bantamweight.
Right. So both going for the first title.
Which kind of then links in because, of course, Shanika Johnson is the current IBF Super Bantamweight champion. She's due to fight Ellie Scottney sometime in the next couple of months. Mm-hmm. So whoever wins the fight between Ramla Ali and Avril Mathie, it's kind of lined up for the winner. Of course, Eddie Hearn's probably expecting it to be Ellie Scottney, who's in his camp. It does then line up the winner, who could potentially see themselves fighting in a title shot at some point in the year.
But then, so that's my thing though. For instance, Ramla Ali, we know she's a fantastic fighter, but I just think when you look at who she's fought so far, would you confidently say she would be ready for a world title this year?
She's not ready, but what a lot of promoters do is they will get their fighters in position, so when they eventually are ready, they can put them in there. I don't think Ramla Ali will be ready to face Ellie Scottney this year, but you put an IBF ranking on her, an IBF belt on her. If anything happens, if Scottney vacates, if Scottney decides to move up or down in weight, that belt then shifts in line for Ramla, which then stays inside Eddie Hearn's stable. So,
yeah. And
if Ramla felt she wanted to dare to be great and said, my next fight, I want a world title shot, give me Ellie Scottney, then it's already in line. It's just about paving the way and dotting the line, dotting the T's and crossing the I's. So when you want to fully sign it off, it can be done.
Do you know what I quite like though? Is the fact that Ramla is taking her time. Mm-hmm. I don't think we see enough of that, and we've talked about that before. I like the fact that she's just been on these random shows around the world. She doesn't mind that she's on first or second. She's just getting those sort of fights under a belt and just continuing that way and building up her sort of ring time. And I like that because that's obviously what the men do more, and the women are expected to suddenly step up really quickly. So I think, yes, I'd like to see her step up in the next fight, but not too much. A reasonable step up and not a world title step up.
Yeah, I was literally about to say the same thing. She has taken it steady. And like you said, I do like that. There isn't a massive rush. And you see the improvements, especially a last fight. I know it didn't last long. But even in that, you saw the aggression in her for the first time, I thought. After this fight, I presume she's going to move to 8-0. Maybe in a couple more fights with gradual steps up. It'll be quite a nice little path that maybe for next year, she'll be ready for a world title. But like I say, she's super exciting. Everyone raves about Ramla Ali, especially at pros. Anytime she boxes, it's always the pros that are on tweeting about how good she is, and everyone compliments, especially her jab. So, people enjoy watching her as well. Right, next fight. So we all going with Ramla Ali wins that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No shocks there. Next fight, Skye Nicolson, Tania Alvarez. Suzy, I'll start with you.
Yeah.
Have you seen much of Tania?
Do you know what? I can't find much about her. So for me, it doesn't feel like a step up either for Skye, this fight. It feels like a fight that she's going to easily win. I'd quite like to see, I feel like Skye's been, again, I quite like the fact she's taking her time a little bit, although she's Commonwealth already, Commonwealth champion. Mm-hmm. But she seems to be so close to almost getting a stoppage in a couple of her fights. I'd quite like to get a stoppage here.
Yeah. I think this is a fight where she will get the stoppage. Again, I think this is quite a similar opponent to Ramla Ali, where on paper, they look even. So Tania has a record of 7 wins, no losses, 1 KO. And then we have Skye, who has 5 wins and 0 losses. So on paper, it's like who's going to lose the row type of situation. From what I've seen of Tania, I think it's quite similar to the Ramla opponent of she is unbeaten, but the level of opponents haven't been super high. And from what I've seen, again, I saw 2 fights and she stood in the center of the ring and she is happy to stand and trade. And that's kind of all she done. So her defense is kind of, she has a high guard, but just absorbs a lot of punches. And then when she catches her breath, she'll throw, but she doesn't move. And something we know Skye is great at is that movement around the ring and changing direction. And I just think that's going to throw Tania off quite quickly. And I think this is the opponent then, especially if she goes down to the body. I think because she has that high guard and kind of doesn't do a lot, I think Skye could get her out. Definitely. Rak, what's your opinion?
I think you summarised it quite well there. Skye has very good movement. She may not be the hardest of punches, but she can move terrifically well. Alvarez doesn't have, well, according to Boxrec, any amateur experience. Not to say that she hasn't got any, maybe she has some, but it's definitely not going to be anything compared to what Skye Nicolson done, fighting at the Worlds, fighting at the Olympics, fighting at that kind of level. So I think in that department, Skye, we could probably say, is the better boxer. Neither fighter is known for having vicious KO streaks. Of course, between the two, there's only been one KO.
Yeah.
I would say definitely going in, Skye has the advantage. In her last fight, she fought for the Commonwealth. She fought someone that has some ambition. Tania's record doesn't suggest that too often. So I think it's definitely similar to the fight between Ramla Ali and Avril, where one fighter has probably stepped up a little bit more than the other, whereas the other might have a record which suggests they've been padded a bit, been a bit more protected. So I would think Skye Nicolson probably on points for this one.
On points?
I would say on points. I'm kind of shooting in the dark here because I don't know anything about Tania to say whether she's durable or not. But from what I've seen of Skye and what I know what she's capable of, I'll say points to be safe.
Yeah. I mean, logically, it would be points. I've just got a feeling, again, I've not seen a lot of tape on Tania, so it's probably a bit unfair. But from what I've seen, I just think she could leave herself open for a lot of shots to be hit. And I certainly don't think it's going to be like a big overhand right that knocks her out. But I think she could get a stoppage of maybe being overwhelmed where she's not throwing a lot, because I can just see her getting potentially pushed on the ropes and just keeping that high guard. Because there was this clip I seen, she probably took about 8-9 shots and just kind of didn't move, and they were landing. And they weren't big shots, but against Skye, who's a lot more accurate, got a lot more speed, I think the referee will be more inclined to potentially come in and stop it at some point. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it went to points by any stretch.
I agree with you, Sasha. That's exactly how I feel. And that one's for a title too. A new title, isn't it? It's the silver title.
WBC silver for the featherweights.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're all going to presume we're all thinking Skye's going to win this fight, then, I mean, where does she go after this fight then? Because again, I don't personally think it's a massive, massive step up. I know someone's put on here, do you think it's a slight step up potentially? Surely she can't go from this fight though to, I mean, you're potentially looking at featherweight, you'd be looking at the winner of Serrano and Cruz. So, I mean, where would she go from here to bridge the gap?
Well, I think where she would go to bridge the gap is a domestic clash with maybe someone the likes of Raymond Chapman, because I think Raymond Chapman holds a WBC international. So with both fighters holding ranking belts, WBC ranking belts, both being within the top 10, both being at similar points in their career, that fight would make sense. Will it happen? I don't think it will happen, not anytime in 2023. But that's the kind of fight which make a lot of sense, because whoever wins that fight could then say, yeah, I'm ready to go on to the next step. I win the rankings. I beat another top girl in the rankings. I'm going to go on next further. If she doesn't take that fight, another fight in the UK, which I think could be easily made for either Raven or Skye, would be Lucy Wildheart. She's also training out of the UK. She's also featherweight. Her only loss comes to an IBO world title challenge against Estelle Yoka Mosley. So I think one of them three, two of them need to fight this year to say who's going to go off into the next stage of their career, who's going to fight for world titles.
Yeah, I agree. I know Skye and Raven sparred, didn't they, a couple of weeks ago, and I would have paid a lot of money to have seen that spar. But yeah, I always said I'd love to see that fight this year, and then in a couple of years, and then 4 years after that, but it won't happen. I think Lucy Wildheart's a good shout. I think that, Lucy's very experienced, like you say as well. I think that would be a great fight for any of them. There's there's a handful of girls in that division that they're going to have to fight, because unless you're going to jump straight up to the winner of Serrano and Cruz, you're going to have to fight that bridge in the gap. And, someone's going to have to get a loss on the record, aren't they? But, it's only going to benefit them in the long run, because I think otherwise they're going to be sitting fighting lower level girls for the sake of it then.
What about Mathie? Good one.
Oh, that's another good option. Yep, that's a good one.
Yeah. Sarah, yeah. That'd probably be a good one for either of them too, actually. And that's kind of what tends to happen, isn't it? It's what we see all the time. You kind of see the step up just before they go for a world title is a former world champion. So that could be a good shout. And I would see both Skye and Raven beating Sarah as well.
Since we're on the topic of former champions, well, I think everyone's expecting Serrano to win on Saturday. Erika Hernandez, she could then become a potential opponent for one of these girls who are looking for a step up for the world level. So if Serrano wins, Erika becomes an option, Sarah Mathie's an option, Lucy Wildheart's an option. Let's say Erika and Mathie, those are the two top options that a lot of girls who want to step up for the world title want to be taken. Yeah,
100%. And Skye versus Chapman is a must. It'd be great to see. It really would be great. And both fighters would take it in a heartbeat.
Oh,
there's no doubt about it.
It's just the politics, isn't it? Because we've already seen guys responded to someone. I can't remember whether it was on Twitter or Instagram, but when they said it, she was like, "Yeah, 2023, happily fight her." So.
Are either of you brave enough to say if that fight happened, who you'd think would win?
Raven.
Go on, Suzy.
I don't want to say.
No, you've got to say.
I like them both. So
that wasn't the question. We know we all like them. That's not the question. You got to pick who wins.
I know, but it's one of those fights where I would just want to enjoy it.
Get off the fence. Get off the fence.
Raven.
Yeah, I think Raven.
Raven.
I think Raven. See, it wasn't hard. But no, we always say that featherweight division, I think in probably the end of this year, I think will become one of the hottest divisions in women's boxing, because there's so many people that can be in it, and there's super bantam girls that can move up as well to make it even more interesting.
Neeks Johnson, they're around. Yeah, that's a good point. Girls can move up, girls can move down.
So I think that division will be stacked.
And I think Karis Artingstall will soon be up there. I think she gets a few fights. Hopefully, she'll get a few fights this year and start waves to get up there up to the point where she can fight some of these girls as well.
Yeah, definitely. And she's so powerful as well. For me, the fight I'd love to see eventually is Raven Karis. I think that's potentially a massive, massive fight in the future. Because that wouldn't go the distance. They're both huge punchers. But like I say, you've got to just kind of see what Karis is doing. She wasn't super active last year, but she did end up turning pro more halfway into the year. By the time she signed with Boxer, so hopefully she gets quite a few fights under her belt. So this fight was kind of announced by Amanda Serrano, I feel like accidentally, and then was officially announced, I think, last week. So Shadasia Green, who is now signed with MVP, so Jake Paul's promotion company. So we'll talk about that first. Was that a signing either of you expected?
Yeah, it kind of was, because knowing Amanda Serrano on social media and who she follows and who she's friends with, she's always backed Shadasia Green right from the beginning. And we all know that obviously Amanda knows Jake very well. So I would imagine that she's had a word with Jake. They've gone through her fights and discussed it. So it didn't come as a huge shock.
Yeah. What about yourself, Rak?
I remember when Jake Paul and Amanda Serrano came to London, it was in 2021 for the press conference. I remember I did ask Jake, do you have any intention of signing any more female fighters moving on in the future and doing the same job that you've done with Amanda? And he said it's something they're looking into for the future. It's something they're looking into. So I'm not surprised that they've signed another female. I wouldn't have guessed it would have been Shadisa, because I know that there's such a wide talent pool. But looking at it now, yeah, it makes sense. She's good friends with Amanda. She's from where is she from? She's from New Jersey. She has 11 fights, 11 wins and 10 KOs. If you want to market a female fighter, how easy is it to market that? Also, she's fighting at super the weight. You've got Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall, Elin Cederoos floating around that division. It's a division with a few names there for high-profile fights. And yeah, she seems to conduct herself pretty well on social media. So yeah, why not add another female to your roster? Look how well Amanda's doing. Let's bring another one in.
Yeah, and probably I was quite surprised only because I just wasn't expecting him to sign someone else. I suppose at this moment in time, I'm glad he has. I hope he signs more because the job he's done with Amanda's amazing. But yeah, it makes sense that it's her, like you say, because of the relationship she has with Amanda as well. Again, it's quite unfortunate. There's not tons of tape that I found anyway on Shadasia Green at all. There's little bits, like I've seen a couple of fights, but I say there's not loads of tape. Not a lot of fights obviously go the distance. So there's just not a lot of minutes, I suppose. Like Rak said, she's got 11 wins, 10 of them by knockout. Jake Paul said he's now got the 2 biggest female punchers signed to him on his roster, which is virtually true, isn't it? There's probably not many more that punch as big as them 2 in their respective divisions. Now, I was shocked at this fight, though. I don't know if either of you was, but I'm very excited for it. What's your thoughts, Suzy?
What a statement fight for her, though.
Yeah.
What a way to say, here I am, this is who I am, than to be fighting on this massive stage like this against Cederroos.
Yeah.
I mean, she must be pretty confident in herself and her abilities to take on Elin like this, in the first fight with MVP.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. The only thing is with Shadasia is because she has been knocking everyone out. She's never done a 10-rounder before.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously this is for a title. This is 10-rounder. So it'd be quite interesting to see how she goes. If she doesn't knock her out and then she's going the 10 rounds, she's never done that before. It'd be quite interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, how exciting. I mean, the other thing is that is it a massive jump up for her as well? Too much of a jump up for her? Because with this division, you've got a lot of elite, like high level elite, and then you've got a lot of low level and not a lot in the middle. So I feel like to go from, sort of the beginning fighters to suddenly jump up to Elin Cederoos is still quite a big jump, even though she is super skilled, super puncher. It's quite a big jump.
Yeah, I do agree. Rak, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think out of the whole card, personally, this fight for me is the most intriguing in the crossroads where it's at. Of course, Shadasia, 11-0 prospect. Her last win, she had a decent win over a 30-4 girl. Got the corner retirement. That looks good. And now she's stepping up to a former world champion, Elin Cederoos. And a lot of people don't actually know how good Elin Cederoos is. Of course, she lost to Franchon Cruz. But let's just take a look at what she's done prior to that. On the road, she picked up 2 world titles. She went to Germany. She beat Femke Hermes. She went to New York. She went to Atlantic City, United States, and beat Alycia in Poland. So she picked up 2 world titles on the road. Do you know how hard that is to do that? Do you know how convincing you have to win? Forget the scorecard saying 95-94 unanimous. No, it wasn't 95-94. It was probably like 98-92. She's gone to a foreign country to her, beat the champion, and brought the belt back. That is a formidable test for Shadasia. If Shadasia can win this fight, if she can be a former unified world champion who won those titles without anyone just handing it to her, then that is definitely a massive statement. And she could definitely then be calling out the names of Savannah Marshall or Clarissa Shields next. The more I think about it, I think it does make sense, because we all know that Jake Paul's got a little bit of a back and forth with Clarissa Shields, and wouldn't he love anything more than to have one of his own fighters dethrone or defeat Clarissa Shields? So I could definitely see a storyline being made for that down the line. Shadasia is fighting at super middleweight. She can go down. I'm pretty sure she can probably go down to middleweight. She could fight Clarissa for the middleweight titles at some point. But first of all, Elin Cederoos, great fight. If she can get through her, then yeah, we've got a star on our hands.
Yeah, 100%. I was surprised when the fight was announced, but this is the fight that I am probably most excited for. Because I feel like I kind of know how the other fights are possibly going to go. This is the one that I'm really excited for, and it's potentially life-changing for Shadasia Green if she wins this. Like you say, Elin Cederoos, she hasn't been super active. I think that's my issue, where I'm not 100% convinced she might get the win. Obviously, her last fight was against Franchon Cruz DAZN in New York. But if we just go back to that fight, I know she lost. But oh my God, she's tough. She is so tough. Like, her nose was splattered, blood everywhere. And she struggled, I thought, the first half of the fight. And I was like, there's no way it's going to go the distance. And then next thing, she's hitting Franchon with like clean right hands. And like, it was just unreal. But the thing I think for me, and Suzy mentioned it before, is we don't know what Shadasia Green's engine's like, but we know what Elin Cederoos' engine's like, because she managed to go the distance and still make it uncomfortable for Franchon at times. And she took a lot of blows and punches. So it's a tough fight. So, I mean, if Shadasia wins, that's a statement. I know she'll be looking to get a stoppage. That'll be another level. But just to get the win, and I think she could do with going 10 rounds, because she needs to know herself what her own engine's like, her own ability. But I'm so excited for this, like really, really. I think this is for like a silver title or so? The super middleweight.
WBC silver.
Yeah.
So the winner of this is then in line to fight Franchon Cruz DAZN, then, is what they've come out and said. Now, obviously, we've seen the Elin Cederoos fight, so I want Shadasia Green to win, because for me, that's a huge fight. Green against Franchon Cruz DAZN, that's huge. Then, like what Rax just said, you've got Clarissa Shields. I know Shadasia's already called her out in the past. You've got Savannah Marshall. You know, you've got tons of other girls in that division. But I think Franchon Cruz DAZN will be sitting there hoping Shadasia Green wins, because she's signed to MVP. You get paid well. You get on a good platform. Franchon Cruz DAZN is probably praying that Shadasia Green gets through this, because it is a big, you know, she's already faced Elin Cederoos, and they waited. We speak about this quite a bit, how long they waited. That fight got cancelled and rearranged, and it was going to be in the bloody street in New York. Like, she doesn't want to risk all that shit again. She wants Shadasia Green to win. She's signed to MVP. She wants a big money and a big fight. So unreal. And she'll really shake up the division as well. That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, totally.
Very, very excited. So yeah, for me, this could be fight of the night. We could see a massive knockout, anything, or we could see an upset, because the presuming Shadasia Green's going to win, and she's obviously favourite going in. But I'm excited for that one. Definitely. Does anyone think Cederoos can cause an upset?
I'm not ruling it off. That's the intrigue about this fight. I'm not going to rule it off at all. Cederoos has already gone to 2 backyards and picked up world titles, so this is nothing new to her. She's not going to let the moment or occasion get to her. She's strong, she's training, she's built. There's nothing to rule her out of this fight. So yeah, I wouldn't be 100% surprised if Cederoos would cause. I wouldn't call it an upset. If Cederoos was to walk away with the win, I wouldn't be 100% surprised at that.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be surprised either. I'm disagree, but wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, my money's on Shadasia Green. Purely, I think Elin Cederoos, her defense isn't great, in the sense of her defense is just to absorb a lot of punches, I think, at times. And Green's a massive puncher, like a big, big puncher. So I think that's what she's going to have to be careful of. But yeah, if Cederoos won, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I think Shadasia Green would be, and she'd be quite pissed off, because it's not the ideal start, because as a MVP debut. But for me, yeah, it's the fight of the night potentially. So I'm super excited for that. And then we'll go to what is the co-main. So this is an undisputed fight. Alycia Baumgardner, who obviously beat Michaela Mayer, and then, no surprise, Choi vacated. So obviously the WBA belt is vacant for this fight. Rak, how do you see this going?
First of all, let's just talk about the WBA position there. it wasn't necessarily a case where Choi chose to vacate. It was vacated from her from the WBA because when the fight got put to her, she was injured. She couldn't take the fight for whatever reason. But I feel with Choi now, we've heard this excuse for the last decade now when it comes to making defenses and fights. So yeah, that is now on you.
Was anyone surprised when Choi come out after turning down 15,000 fights with champions and was like, "Oh, I'm injured"?
That's why I'm actually going to, well, it's very long overdue that they've done it, but props to the WBA for actually doing something which is within their job spectrum and enforcing a fighter to vacate a title so that it can actually be defended, because it's been long enough. It's been long enough. So
champion in recession though, isn't she? So when she comes back from her injury, she has the right to then challenge for that undisputed title, basically. That's a joke.
No, the thing is, it is a joke, but I don't mind that. If she's going to fight for a title, if you're going to put her in a title fight and she has to actually show up, then that's fine. She'll either win
Yeah, she won't.
or she'll get beat and she's out the picture, but that's fine. You just can't hold on to that world title around your waist. You call yourself what you want: interim, regular, champion in recess, secondary champion, emeritus champion. Call yourself whatever you want, but just don't have the world around your waist. If you want to fight Alycia or Mekalhed next year or something, or whenever you get back, that's fine. But you just can't hold the main strap. And of course, going into this fight, funny enough, Mekalhed, she lost her last fight to Delphine Pursoon. So questions do have to be asked. Why is she then going on to fight for the full world title? I know last year she was offered this fight at, I think, a couple of weeks' notice, and she kicked off it on social media and she said, "Oh, okay, I'm retiring. I can't take this sport." So she's got what she asked for. She's got it, a fair camp, a fair build-up. She's got it for bigger stakes this time. But I don't think that she's at the level that Alicia's been operating at in the last year and a half. Alycia, of course, she came over, got the stoppage over Terry Harper. She then went on to beat Michaela Mayer. A lot of people said they don't think it was a win, but either way, it was a very close fight. She edged Michaela to a very close fight. She's come on heaps and bound, massive improvement. All the resources, all the funding, all the DAZN backing. I think now Alycia, it's fair to say she might be just at two levels above for Mekalhed, but we'll see on fight night.
What do you think, Suzy?
I think it's could potentially be a very competitive fight, actually, because I think Elhem showed what she was about against Delphine. She might have lost, but it was some good toe-to-toe action. She I can't remember what the scores were, but
she lost. Two judges had it 96-94 and another judge had it 97-93. I watched it this morning. I would say 96-94, but very close.
Yeah.
Very, very close.
Anybody who's having a close fight with Delphine Pursoon, you can't rule out, because there are anybody doing well against her is a good fighter in my books. So I think it's going to be a great fight. I'm never going to bet against Alycia ever again, obviously.
You've done that one too many times.
That's it. She stepped over. But I do think it's going to be quite competitive and I'm going to enjoy it very much, I think. I do think Alicia's going to win, but it's going to be good.
Yeah. I mean, initially, I was like, well, Alycia Baumgardner's going to win. Okay. And I still think that because, again, like you, I am never betting against it because she knocked out Terry Harper and then, she got the next win. Then she beat Michaela Mayer. So I'm not playing that game no more, betting against her. But Elhem, I think they have very similar styles, from what I watched. When I watched Elhem against Delphine Pursoon, and again, I mean, there was an argument for me. It could have been a draw, depending on a couple of swing rounds. So hard to score with Delphine Pursoon because her arms don't stop moving. It's very hard to know what's landed and what's not. So I can see why judges must have a hard time scoring for her. But I actually think Elhem and Alycia have somewhat similar styles. They both have a big overhand right because Elhem landed that a good few times against Pursoon. She's got good defense. And what she does have, which this is the one thing I believe is still a question mark with Alycia, not that it's her fault. Elhem has a very good engine. She went that distance with Delphine at a very, very high, at the Delphine Pursoon pace, which is like above anyone else's pace. And she went the 10 rounds and she's done very well. Alycia, obviously, she knocked out Terry in the 4th round. Her next opponent, it wasn't a fast-paced fight whatsoever. I thought it was very last-minute fight, wasn't it? It was a bit slow, didn't get going. The Michaela Mayer fight wasn't a fast-paced fight at all. It didn't light up like we thought. So I'd be interested to see if Elhem brings it to her and brings that pace she had in the last fight against Delphine, how Alycia reacts. Because Alycia in the last 3 fights we've seen has kind of been used to dictating the pace herself. So that's something I'm interested to see. But yeah, I think the momentum is definitely with Alycia Baumgardner, isn't it? She must be on cloud 9 after beating Michaela Mayer. Like Rak said, all the money, the endorsements, the investment Matchroom are now putting into her. That's confidence right there. And she does ooze confidence, even against Michaela Mayer, which is a 50-50 fight. She's chatting to her in the middle of the ring in the fight. She's got her arms down. Like she was smiling. Like she was so confident and just enjoying every moment of that fight. That I think she'll go into this fight even more confident, which obviously makes her even more dangerous. But it wouldn't be the biggest shock if Elhem won. It wouldn't be the biggest upset in boxing history.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's got the tools to do it, but I think she would have to catch herself on her best night and Alycia on a slow night, possibly. But we'll see. Time shall tell. But again, look forward to that. I think I would have preferred the Delphine Pursuit because it makes sense.
Yeah.
But I believe, there was someone come out and said Delphine Pursuit rejected it, and then Delphine Pursuit came out and went, no one offered me it. So we'll never know.
That sounds so
which is exactly what boxing is, isn't it? Probably, and I think it was, I don't know if it was Alycia Baumgardner, it was someone who come out and was like, we've offered you the fight. She was like, no, you haven't. But both sides have they believe that that's true, and it's the person in the middle that's lying to everyone. But the winner could potentially get Delphine Pursuit. I'd like it.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Do you know what? As for a boxing perspective, yeah, that would be a good fight. Delphine Pursuit versus the winner. But from Alycia Baumgardner's perspective, that's a bit of a risky fight with not much reward. Maybe I can fight a campaign for a Katie Taylor or a Michaela Mayer rematch, or one of the other girls that are floating about, where there's going to be a bit more spectacle, a bit more buzz around their name. Because Delphine Pursuit, she's like one of the boogeymen in the division. She's boogie women in the division. She's a great fighter, but it just doesn't come with much reward. And it's going to be a tough one. And you lose, you've lost it all. You win, oh, well, no one knew in the first place. So, yeah. So I can see maybe her vacating the belts, pursuing maybe fighting for one of the vacant belts and going on her own campaign then. But I don't know. I just don't see anything for Alycia to take that fight as a defense when there's so many options out there now. There's so many options out there for now.
Yeah. Someone's put Pursuit as too big for 130. She's obviously just fought at 130. Pursuit doesn't enjoy being at 135. She made that clear against Katie Taylor, where she says she just struggles to get up at that weight. So I think that's her natural weight, actually, 130. So don't particularly agree with that. But I agree with what you've just said, Rak, where Alycia does have a lot of options. I still don't think she'll take the Michaela Mayer rematch, even though it'll be her biggest payday. I still don't think she'll take it, which I think is a shame. I think she could vacate and move up, but only if she got a title fight.
Or if it was another big name.
Would she get that fight? Would she get the Katie Taylor fight? I don't know. I mean, I'm convinced this is Katie's last year in boxing. I know she probably has another 5 years left, but I am super convinced. I've got my list of boxers that are retiring, and I think Katie's one of them. Which, I think me and Suzy, we spoke about this, didn't we? That fight doesn't particularly excite me, and I don't think it makes a ton of money. Katie Taylor, Alycia Baumgardner. I just think there's bigger fights for both of them separately. So
and I think Matchroom would be that keen, will they? Their new superstar Alycia fighting their superstar Katie. It's two against one another, which could be big, but then equally, if there's buzz about other fights, then they'll probably go for the other fights.
Yeah, I just think for Katie, obviously you've got the Serrano rematch, which will happen this year, and then for me, if Katie needed another option, you've got Chantal Cameron, such a bigger fight than Alycia Baumgardner.
Is it?
So yeah, I think so. A lot bigger.
I don't know. I feel that Alicia's got more quote unquote star power than Chantal Cameron. I feel like her name's more notable on the scene. She's been doing her PR work. She's been getting herself about. I think in boxing, Alycia Baumgardner is probably more of a name than Chantal Cameron, and that's just because not knocking any Chantal Cameron's boxing. It's just because she's so quiet. Alycia is just out there. Everyone knows about Alycia. Everyone's keeping up to date with what she does. But Chantal's a lot more quiet. I think Alycia maybe be the bigger name.
As a boxing fan, though, someone who knows all the fighters, like as proper fans, what fight not take away all the other bit, take away the business side and who the bigger name and stuff. What fight though was bigger in the ring? Is it Alycia Baumgardner, Katie Taylor, or Katie Taylor, Chantal Cameron? Just purely in the ring.
Yeah, of course. But of course, Chantal Cameron probably does come across as the more equipped fighter. But it's never just about the boxing. It's never just about who the ring's going to put on the best show. It's all that comes with it. The build-up, the press conference, the everything around. And on that department, I definitely think Alycia... Yeah, I definitely think Alycia is definitely the bigger profile name than Chantal Cameron.
I don't know what it is. That fight just doesn't excite me at all. I don't know what it is.
I always think, because Chantal Cameron's a UK-based fighter, of course, Ireland isn't the UK, but pretty much Ireland is treated like the UK when it comes to their fighters in boxing. We've seen them develop, we've seen their early stages, we've seen their whole career, and there's always been that link of, could Chantal Cameron be the next Katie Taylor? Could they fight? They're only one division apart. And in our head, that's been embedded for time and time and time and time and time. Whereas Alycia, she only came on the scene a year and a half ago.
Mm.
So we've been conditioned that Chantal, Katie Taylor is the fight for the next generation. But when you look at it on paper, Chantal and Alycia have done, well, after Saturday, if Alycia wins, they've done exactly the same thing on paper.
Mm-hmm.
They've done exactly the same thing on paper. No one's done more than the other. So who's to say that Chantal is a better boxer than Alycia? Because they've both done the same thing. And we can even argue that Alycia took the more challenging route to be there. She took 2 away fights. She beat two favorite fighters, and then she got her belts.
No, I do agree. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think you mentioned, didn't you, Suzy? Because it's like Alicia's on a path to becoming undisputed at featherweight. So maybe when she's done that, I might be open to it. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, it's not my decision, but I still would. There's just other fights, I think, for Katie Taylor. But I don't know. I think I'm stuck on. I would like to see the Alycia and Michaela Mayer rematch. So maybe that's my issue. I don't know. Who knows? But she's got to obviously get through this fight on Saturday, and I'm looking forward to it. Like I say, her confidence will be sky high. And we're going to go on to the main event as I plug my laptop in before it runs out of battery. Amanda Serrano and Erika Cruz. Go on, Suzy. You can start with this one.
Well, here we are. Amanda finally getting her shot at Undisputed after all these years. This is something she hasn't yet done, so that's history making in itself. I feel like, though, Amanda is a clear favourite. Is that
yes,
not to say? Because although Erika Cruz is a great fighter in itself for the division, Amanda's just elite, isn't she? So to me, it's more of a clear result than perhaps some of the other fights on the card. But do you know what? Amanda's always a fan favourite style. She always looks great fighting. So it's going to be an unbelievable fight, even if she is favourite to win. And yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah. What do you think, Rak? How does the fight go?
I think it's another. I think Amanda Serrano, she does take this one. There could be fireworks to say, because of course, as we do know, Erika does like to come forward. She does like to attack. I don't think Erika's, in any of her last high-profile fights, she's taken a back foot and just cruised the fight. She's always made it interesting. As we know, Amanda can punch. So neither fighter's going to take a defensive step in this one, and that's when you do lead the fighters being more open, more exposed, and someone getting put out of there. And Erika hasn't shown the punch power that Amanda has. Amanda's got probably one of the highest, well, she has one of the highest punch ratios, knockout ratios in women's boxing ever. Erika has 3 KOs out of 15 wins, so
yeah,
it would suggest she probably can't hurt Amanda. I think could be a Serrano stoppage at some point. I don't know whether it'll be early or late, but I think we'll see a Serrano stoppage.
Yeah, I agree. I think, like I said, I don't know what round, but I think Amanda knocks her out. The thing with me where I think Erika's going to really struggle, she does come forward a lot. Do you know what she's got a very similar style, I think, to Jessica McCaskill, in the sense of she comes forward and will just throw at times. The thing where I think she's really going to struggle against Amanda is Erika has this tendency to like fold her body in half practically as she like lunges forward. Her head comes down so low. And like there's a lot of head clashes at times in her fights because I don't know why, when she throws, she cannot stay upright. Her body literally falls over. And I can just, with Amanda's foot speed, she only has to take one step back and a short uppercut or any shot she wants will just knock her out. But in a lot of her last few fights, Erika's got head clashes because every single time she goes, especially to throw, and because she's a southpaw, she just like her whole head and shoulders just like fall down. Problem is, against someone like Amanda who's so quick, against some of her past opponents, she's kind of fell on them. I feel like if Amanda just takes one step back, Erika's off balance straight away. And then she's going to be open. So, yeah, for me, even though she's come forward, in theory, there'd be fireworks, I feel like Amanda could just put a stop to it quite quickly. Now, her last fight against Sarah, it wasn't Amanda's best fight ever. She's done what she needed to do to win. But I think she's been quite honest on social media where she said after that fight, she kind of rested for the first time in her whole career. Bearing in mind, her career spanning over like 13 years or something. And she says she'd never had more than like a couple of days off from the gym, which is like me. But, you know, I think fatigue really got to Amanda in the last fight and she won convincingly, but she didn't look like Amanda Serrano that we normally know. So I think it's been great that she's had a long rest. Obviously, she'll be up for this fight. It's her opportunity to become undisputed. So I think we're going to see an amazing version of Amanda.
Yeah.
And there's just nothing I don't think Erika can do to put a dent in Amanda Serrano or anything she wants to do.
This is something she's been wanting for a long time now. So she's going to have that fire in her belly. So I think we're going to see the best version of her. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a knockout for me. And again, my theory is I think she will vacate. So I actually do think the back half of next year, all of these featherweight titles will become vacant, which is perfect for the girls coming through. Something I'm a little bit confused by is everyone saying, oh, if Amanda gets through Saturday, she'll face Katie Taylor. Win or lose, does it affect the Katie Taylor fight? Because we're talking about a completely different division and different belts.
No, I don't think it does. I think it's one of those ones where, of course, it majorly helps the case if she wins. But at the same time, too much has already been put into play. Too much has already been invested. Too much has already been thrown out there for the fight to happen in her and Katie Taylor, the rematch. So if she lost, it wouldn't help at all. But ultimately, too much is at stake at this point, and it will happen.
Yeah, I just keep seeing on Twitter like, oh, if Amanda gets through, she'll rematch Katie. And I'm like, it won't help, like you're saying, it will probably lower the stock of the fight and things like that. But that fight's happening regardless.
Yeah,
yeah. So obviously, it's not an ideal situation if she doesn't win, but we're all going to presume she will. But yeah, I think regardless, that fight happens. Obviously, it's come out, I think, today. The reason why it won't be at Croke Park is because of the cost. Blew my mind because I genuinely thought Eddie Hearn would have looked into that before he's been speaking about Croke Park for the last few years. I thought he would have got a quote on how much it'd be to rent. He's clearly left that very last minute, and it's too expensive.
I heard some rumors about that a few days ago. It's going to be at the A Stadium. Is that correct?
I believe so, but it's not a massive stadium, is it? I think it's a fraction of what Croke Park is. I think Croke Park was, 80-something thousand people.
Aviva Stadium holds 51,000. Is it the Aviva Stadium?
51,000?
Yeah, the Aviva Stadium is 51,000.
That's still good. It's no Croke Park, but it's still good. I just feel like, wouldn't you, before you bring up Croke Park, like, wouldn't you have got a quote, though? That's like saying I'm going to have a party here, and then you've not even got a quote for it, and you don't know how much it's going to cost. Like, no one does that.
Do you know, I thought that being on Ireland and how much they love Katie, they could have come to some sort of arrangement, because you think that they'd want her at Croke Park, if you know what I mean?
I don't think they hold a lot else there, though. And I don't know whether that's part of the issue as well, that they don't really hold anything apart from, I can't remember the name of the sport, that they hold there. So I don't know whether it's a bit of kind of that as well, if that makes sense. So they're not, because you would think like, God will be super flexible, think how much money it'd draw in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as long as it gets held, that's all that matters. And I believe it's being pushed back to May 20th now because of the venue. But it's still happening. It's still happening regardless of whether Amanda wins on Saturday or not. But
have you rebooked your hotel rooms for the new dates?
Yes. And booking.com are probably going to email me, say stop booking and cancelling hotels. So yeah, I have cancelled the April 30th that I was initially told. And I've rebooked for May. I have. But yeah, I mean, but obviously, if we say Amanda gets through, she becomes undisputed at featherweight. She then moves up 2 divisions, and then you've got undisputed versus undisputed in a rematch of one of the best fights to have ever happened. Like that's just such a big sell. Like nothing, surely no other fight can match, male or female, nothing can match that story this year, having undisputed against undisputed. And we all know how good the first fight was.
Yeah.
I'm excited. When that fight happens, Suzy, who wins the rematch?
I've got a feeling Serrano's going to do it.
Points or knockout?
I don't think it'll be knockout. I think it'll be points, because Katie's going to be a lot more wary this second time round of that power. I know she loves a scrap, so she always does leave herself open at some point. But she's going to be much more wary in trying to outbox Serrano, I think, in the rematch.
Can she outbox Serrano, though?
She's going to try. She'll try. I don't think she will, hence why I think Serrano will. But that's going to be her best tactic, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I remember listening to her mum got interviewed by Steve Bunce after, and she said she was having a heart attack while she's just standing in the ring trading when she was specifically told not to. But she can't help herself. Rak, who wins the rematch?
I think it's all about adjustments. If Amanda makes the adjustments and see where she potentially went wrong in the first fight, and maybe applies the pressure a bit more on Katie Taylor, brings it more into a slugfest, brings it more into a fight, then it'll be up for her. But if Katie Taylor can just not get hit, can just avoid and do what she done in the first 3 or 4 rounds, where she was just swiftly in and out, moving around, then she will take it. The clock is ticking on, the years are getting on. The clock is more against Katie than it is against Amanda. So I think that could potentially give Amanda the slight edge, and a bit of favoritism, bit of that. I would say Serrano again.
I think the clock's ticking for both of them. I know Katie's a few years older, but Amanda's had a long, long career. You know, what is she had 42 or 43 fights, I think.
40.
You know, she's had a long career. So I feel like how many?
46.
46 fights. I mean,
47 on Saturday.
You know, so I know, I think Katie may be like 3 years older potentially, but miles on the clock. I think Amanda's winning that one. So that's why I think this is their last year for both of them. I think they both deserve to retire and sail off in the sunset. I think Amanda, personally, goes into the rematch more confident than Katie because she did nearly knock her out. And in theory, I think that should have been a 10-8 round to Amanda because Katie literally nearly dropped all the way down. And I just feel, I mean, Amanda then obviously she must have gassed a little bit because obviously she took it off the next round. But for me, out of the two, Amanda was so much more dangerous than Katie. And Katie, you know, Amanda come close to knocking Katie out. So for me, Amanda goes into that so much more, I think, or more confident than Katie Taylor based on that. And I know Katie got the win. Obviously, I think Amanda won, but I also can see how people think Katie won because there was swing rounds there. I think you just favour your favourite. But I definitely think Amanda goes in with more confidence. And I am going to say that she knocks her out in the 7th round.
Wow.
Rematch. I know. It is specific. You know, I like to be specific.
How many minutes in seconds?
I'm going to go 53 seconds in the 7th round. Amanda Serrano knocks Katie Taylor out. And I say that I love Katie Taylor. I absolutely love Katie Taylor as well. I want to see the trilogy. And I want the trilogy to be in Vegas.
You know, if Katie wins, then I guess that's concluded. If Serrano wins, there is no way Katie Taylor's retiring without getting that 3rd rubber match in there. So
yeah,
I think it works out for boxing for Amanda Serrano to win, just to get that 3rd fight, just to make it happen one more time, because they can't just finish it on a draw.
Oh, I agree. I've planned out their careers. So, you know, Amanda will win Saturday. She's going to vacate. She will beat Katie Taylor. And then they will do the trilogy in November or December in Vegas. And then they both retire on the same night with just one winner. And what a lovely end. I just think what a lovely end to two unbelievable athletes and two pioneers in the sport. So that's how I've planned it out for them. We'll see what happens, but that's what I'd like to see.
It sounds good. And we'll be there in Vegas as well.
That's why I want it to be Vegas. We can have a team holiday in Vegas.
I'm going to sound really selfish here, but I hope it's in London. O2 Arena. 20,000 people.
We're always at shows in London though. Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's make it more expensive and we'll go to Vegas. How all the judges gave Taylor the last round is amazing. Amanda landed double what Katie did and almost had her on her knees.
Yeah.
I gave Amanda the last round. And I remember scoring it because obviously I was there, watched it. I had Amanda winning. Come home, scored it. I had it 6-4 to Amanda. Put it on Twitter. And the abuse I got, I'm never doing it again. But that last round, no one can try and convince me otherwise. Amanda Serrano won that last round. There's no way Katie Taylor won it. It just didn't happen. And that's why I think Amanda goes in a little bit more confident. So that'll be exciting.
Also, for what it's worth, since they've had their encounter, Amanda Serrano would have had Sarah Mathie, Erika Cruz Hernandez, two fights, picking up titles, en route to undisputed. Katie Taylor's had one fight against Karen Jabal, which was an opponent who really and truly she was levels above. So if you want to look at activity, Amanda has kept herself up to par, up to scratch, continuously fighting the top 5s in her division. So
yeah, that's always been. Yeah, that's always been kind of my thing of if this fight isn't till May, it's been a long time of Katie being inactive, but you don't want to risk taking a fight in the meantime because, you know, a last opponent didn't really do a lot. It probably wasn't really worth the effort of a camp type of situation. It's not like Katie needs the experience, but Amanda definitely has the momentum, like you say, Rak, going in because she's had, you know, after this weekend, 2 very high level opponents.
What is when you see Katie talking in interviews and that she's so passionate, she's a real fighting out of who she. So again, it comes down to politics.
Yeah.
Should be fighting is higher caliber can regularly.
Yeah, I always wonder, like, I wonder if she's sitting there a little bit frustrated in the sense of she's come off and won that huge fight. It was a history-making night, biggest payday. And then it's been a little bit flat for her. So she must be a bit like, and I know obviously Amanda has the luxury if she's going to move down divisions to a true division and have these big nights for herself. But I still feel like, if you're confident, Katie Taylor's one of the best to enter the ring, like put it in with some big fights because you should believe she's going to get through them.
I think that so if we look at their last fight, if we look at Taylor Serrano when they fought last year, I think their career trajectories since that fight, it kind of tells a story. Amanda Serrano has gone on then said, I'm going to set my path to becoming undisputed in my weight class. I'm going to keep fighting the top girls and have the fight with Katie Taylor. And after that, there may be other options out there. She's even spoken about a fight with Raven Chapman. Katie Taylor has had one fight against an opponent to stay busy. I think, if anything, this is potentially a sign that Katie Taylor is seeing this as, I'm just winding it down now. I'm not giving myself any more targets. I'm not giving myself any more goals. The first fight was very close, which led to opportunity for a rematch, which is mega money. So I'm going to have one fight in between that, keep myself busy, keep myself ticking over, have the last fight, and we'll see what happens from then. But maybe in her mind, she's already thinking of calling it a day because they've both gone on different paths since that last fight. One's for other competition, the other has kind of just ticked over until the big day comes again.
Yeah, I do agree. It's like she's being protected for this like final hurrah, and the fact that it is her homecoming, and the fact it is against Amanda Serrano. If she still had 2-3 years left in her career, you could risk her having a big fight prior to Amanda. But there's no way now you could risk her going in. I know Michaela Mayer wants the fight, Chantal Cameron, Jessica. You can't risk that. And then you lose, and then you've lost the Amanda fight, and you've literally lost your last opportunity at a huge payday. So I definitely think you're right. I know people were asking her at the end of last year if she's retiring, and she was getting probably a little bit annoyed, but I think she's probably getting more annoyed of being asked the same questions all week, which would annoy anyone. But yeah, I truly believe this is her last year. I think if she beats Amanda, she's got nothing else to prove. As much as I'd love the Chantal Cameron fight, she doesn't have to. She's got nothing else to prove. Katie Taylor, if she doesn't win, like Rak said, she's going to have the trilogy. Obviously, that'll be signed in the contract, and then she'll definitely be done. Or she could shock us all. And I don't know why I've got it in my head. If she does beat Amanda, she might do the Pursoon trilogy to throw us off and then retire. How about them apples?
I don't think she'll do Pursoon.
Do you not reckon?
No.
What a way to go out, though. Like, literally burn yourself out.
But how frustrating those fights for her.
God. Fair play to Katie for taking the rematch behind closed doors for not a massive payday for that Pursoon fight, because that was not an easy or comfortable fight for her to be in. But proof that she does want to be in the big fights. But I agree with Rak. I think she's winding down now. And hopefully she gets a massive payday for this Amanda fight. And then we probably won't see a lot of her after that. She's obviously a quiet person. We're not going to see her on commentary, are we, or doing punditry? I don't think.
It's just about to see Katie Taylor now when she's in her best years of her career and she's actually fighting. Once she's retired, I think that is it from Katie Taylor. We don't see too much of her.
No, that will be it. And fair play. Like, why not? Just run away, make sure no one knows who you are. She'll probably change her name and everything, just hide out and just enjoy the money. That's what I'd do. Right, so that's that week's fight. So obviously them fights are taking place this Saturday, the 4th of February in New York in the Hulu Theatre, which I keep saying wrong, at Madison Square Garden. On DAZN, I'm not sure what time it starts in the UK.
Is it 5 hours different? Is that about right?
Sounds right. 5 hours.
5 hours from New York.
So I feel like I saw the undercard, or before the bell was 4:30 p.m. in New York. So was that 9:30 then?
That's not too bad.
Doable. I'll still need a nap for the main fights, but it's doable for everyone.
You'd have to be so careful taking a nap with the amount of female fights on that card.
Oh, yeah. I'd take, yeah. Because I think Ramla Ali will potentially be on before the bell. And Skye Nicolson before the bell, maybe.
Yeah.
So what's the main card? Oh, but there's at least 5 cards in the
card, though, is it? There's then 5 fights. 5 female fights and 2 male fights, so 7.
Are the male fights going to be on the main card? Or are they going to try just...
I'm going off the poster. I always go off how big everyone's faces are on the poster. Because that's how they tend to do it, don't they?
Yeah.
The Hitchinson Wazua fight, that's for an IBF North America and a WBC United States. So that will be on the card because they put a bit of money into that. But I don't see why any of the others wouldn't be on the... Actually, maybe they might take the Ramla one off, but the other ones, I think they'll be on there. Obviously, the two mains, Richardson fight.
Yeah.
Skye is their girl. They're pushing her to the moon. So it'll either be the Shadasia fight or the Ramla fight, which will then be on the card. And I think probably...
No way Shadasia Green will be on the undercard. No way. Skye will be on it before her. Definitely. Jake Paul would not allow that.
Yeah, so I think those are the fights. Shadasia, Cederoos, Skye, Alvarez, Alycia Mekalhed, Hitchison, Boza, and Serrano, Cruz. I think those will be the 5 fights. And yeah, Ramla will probably take the early slot.
Yeah, that sounds right. But yeah, they normally release the schedule not until after the weigh-in. It's normally quite late on, isn't it? But yeah, so we will see. So it'll be a bit of a late night for everyone on Saturday, but I'm looking forward to it. And then we'll be back next Monday, and we'll see if we were right to start with. Let's see if we got them right. And then we can break down all the fights and see if anything else is announced, because there's meant to be tons of shows happening in March and nothing is being announced yet. So we might have hopefully some news as well.
Yeah,
it's going to be... Sorry.
Go on, Suzy.
I was going to say it's going to be like a bus, like all buses. Suddenly it'll all come at once. We're going to have a huge week talking about what's coming up.
Yeah.
Just a few shades, I know what's coming up. Of course, Terry Harper, she's got a fight. Apparently, she's meant to announce. Steffi Ball's mentioned. Tania Rankin, she's also got a fight coming up in the next 2 months that's meant to be taking place. Nina Hughes, Shannon Courtney, that's a fight that's supposed to be happening within the next couple of months.
I'm outraged at that. I'm outraged. I just don't like that fight. I think Shannon Courtney needs another fight. I just think that is a bizarre choice of opponent for Shannon Courtney.
You mean for Nina Hughes? Nina Hughes is the champion, right?
Yeah, but there's no way after Shannon Courtney's fight against Gemma that she's ready to now go for a world title. She's been out for 14 months, had 2 knee surgeries, had a very average comeback fight, and then she's going for a world title. That is outrageous.
I'm not even at the right weight, actually. So.
Yeah, she didn't at least I just don't like it. Don't get me wrong, Shannon Courtney will be a world champion again. I just think it's crazy. Have another fight. Have a fight at your weight at 10 rounds.
I don't think she's really got time on her side because, of course, if the bantamweights all want to unify, once that process starts, there's not really going to be any fights in between. So it's you either take it now or you wait until the belts have been unified, which might be mid-end of next year, and then you get your shot. So it's either now or maybe never.
Yeah, but because I initially, when that was all spoken about, I thought, right, that's because they're wanting to make the Shannon Courtney Ebony Bridges fight in the summer, but obviously Ebony Bridges is off with an injury. I'm sure she'll want a warm-up fight when she comes back. I just don't know. I just don't like the fight. I really think Shannon Courtney, because if she loses this fight, that is a long way back to the top.
Yeah,
long way. So I don't know. I don't like the fight, to be fair. I also did see Shannon Courtney put on Instagram. She I can't remember the exact wording, but basically she's had bad news. It could be anything, obviously, in her whole life, but that made me think that she didn't have good fight news. But that's just me completely speculating. I don't know, but yeah, I don't like that fight. But yeah, that is meant to be happening in the next few months. Sorry, go on, Suzy.
Another fight that's been announced is obviously Raven Chapman.
Yes.
Yes, Telford, 25th of March, Frank Warren card, yes.
Mm.
She'll be fighting a 15-1 girl.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a good one. Do we know what Hannah Rankin's coming back? Like, what weight is she coming back at? Does anyone know?
I believe it is 1-5. I think she's going to continue at 154. I spoke to her coach, Noel, a couple of weeks ago, and he said they've got a date, an opponent. They're just waiting to be able to release the news. So it's all locked in. They'll be with us. They'll be with us in the next couple of weeks, I would imagine.
Yeah. Exciting. I think Terry Harper's due back in April now. I think that kept getting pushed back and back and back. So she'll be out in April. And then obviously Shannon Courtney. I think there's a couple more as well, but hopefully they'll all be announced soon. I know there's a Liverpool card coming up. Hopefully there's some
Rihanna
fighters on
Dixon.
there. Rihanna Dixon.
On that card. Natasha Jonas is another one. They keep talking about a fight potentially with Clarissa Shields, so she could be. That'll be a fight which we'll be hearing about happening.
Well, no, not happening. I'm telling you now, not happening. I bet everything I own that fight does not happen.
You're gonna be homeless.
I just don't see it happening. I really, really don't. Don't get me wrong. I'd love it to happen. Of course I would. I just don't see the stars aligning this year for it to happen.
Probably not now, because remember, Savannah did invoke the rematch clause with Clarissa, so that's going to definitely take precedent.
But it's not an immediate rematch, is it? Because Ben Shalom has come out and said that he's looking for Savannah to have 2 fights prior to that rematch.
Which I think is a move, actually, for Savannah.
I do. I think it's really good. And it will just build up the rematch. I know Clarissa said she's only having 1 boxing fight this year, and I think it's just going to be a mandatory. I don't see it being... I just don't see timing. I don't see the stars aligning for that fight for Jonas and Shields. And you're going to laugh, but I think Tasha Jonas is going to retire at the end of this year. Like, genuinely. So,
I wouldn't be surprised, but it will just be so downing that she doesn't go for undisputed before retiring, which was a kick in the teeth for all of us. But due to the politics and relationships between certain camps, that might just be what it is.
Would you not get over it, though? I mean, I know we don't know the ins and outs, and you only heard certain sides of stories, but for your opportunity to become undisputed champion of the world with a big payday prior to retiring, would you brush everything aside?
Yes.
I think I would. And I'm quite a bitter person, but I still think I would. It's crazy, isn't it? But I wonder if it's like the waiting, like the passing it now, and then the thinking, right, we're gonna have a big summer one. We'll have a big summer fight at Anfield, maybe, or something. Maybe they're just winding us all up, because there's just no logic for me for that to turn it down. It's such a shame. And then, I mean, I know we spoke about it before. I don't know who Tasha Jonas fights if she doesn't get Clarissa Shields. I don't know who she fights. I feel like everyone's tied up, aren't they now?
I think the only person that could, I think a person potentially for her could be Cecilia Brackhouse, because Cecilia Brackhouse, she's going to ask for a lot of money. She's going to ask for a decent sum. Boxer are investing a lot behind Tasha Jonas. She's their star girl. I know Terry Harper's part of the fight. I don't know whether DAZN will put up the same money that Boxer would put up for Tasha Jonas. So I think if she goes anywhere, it's most probably going to go to Natasha Jonas and Skye. The belt, she's got the name, she's got the platform, we'll hear the purse. Yeah, that makes more sense.
I mean, she's definitely a great to have on someone's record. So I can imagine either fighter wanting that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think Tash would be better vacating then and trying her arm elsewhere then, because I just don't see the point. Like, if she's not going to go for undisputed, would she be better moving divisions? You know, if Terry Harper, for instance, has got an opponent, and let's say it's not Jessica McCaskill, for an example, would Tasha Jonas be better vacating, moving down and fighting Jessica? Mind you, Jessica McCaskill's not undisputed now. She's had one of the belts taken off her. Yeah.
Taken off, it says.
So I don't know. It's a funny one, isn't it? But But we'll see. But yeah, I don't know if that fight will happen. But you imagine an announcement soon for Tasha Jonas, regardless of who she's fighting.
Yeah.
Just earlier from Chantal Cameron. Don't know if you saw it. So she was out. She saw that obviously the belt's been taken off McCaskill, and she says, "Well, how about having that fight with that belt on the line again? So it is still for undisputed, but it's kind of like the vacant belt put on if Chantal faces her for it."
Yeah.
So that would be interesting.
And a great opportunity.
I don't think Rick Ramos and Jessica McCaskill are probably looking to rematch Chantal Cameron so soon. When they've had to fight only a couple of months ago, it was clearly in favour of Chantal. I think they're probably looking at other options for the time being, or other things that they can kind of do.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they'll take that rematch. I know Jessica did have a mandatory, but I believe Eddie Hearn wasn't too keen on that from
Ivana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
IBF.
Yeah.
So we'll probably get Ivana fighting for the IBF against someone else in the welterweight rankings.
Good opportunity for Allen. You know, she's been knocking on the door.
That's true.
A vacant title there. You never know. You never know. Someone's put I heard there was talks of Sugar Neeks Johnson against Ellie Scottney. Presuming that's got to be announced at some point, hasn't it?
I can fill that gap in. So at the beginning of the year, there was talks of there being a show at a Matchroom DAZN show being at the O2 on the 20th of February. That was originally the plan. So they were going to fight. They were probably going to have local London fighters fighting on that, and that's where Scottney versus Neeks would have most probably went. But that card has been called off because now they're going to do the Florida fight there, and also Misfits had also announced a show on that day last month. So the fight still penciled to happen. They're just going to have to find another date for it to happen. So I would say sometime before April it should take place. But yeah, it's still in the works because in the last fight, Ellie Scottney, she won the European title, which is also an IBF eliminator. So her and Neeks will get it on at some point.
Yeah, I mean, that fight is definitely going to happen, isn't it? I'm really looking forward to that fight, actually. That'll be a good one. Just quickly before we go, who wins out of them two then, Suzy?
Oh, Ellie Scottney.
I didn't even have to think about it. Rak, who wins?
I'll say Ellie Scottney just because I've seen more of her. There's a bit of the biasness there, but at the same time, I think it'll be Ellie's probably most difficult fight because Neeks has actually fought. I would say Neeks has been at fringe intercontinental world level now for the last couple of years. I would say at least 2020, 2022. No, since 2020, she's been around fringe world level. So she's been fighting for the WBA Oceanic title. She's been fighting for WBA gold titles. She had a very close fight with Shannon O'Connell, who just lost to Every Bridges. So she's been cutting it in that mix for a while now. So yeah, I think Ellie will win, but I think she'll have to work for it. It'll be the toughest fight definitely today.
Yeah, I agree with you. Rak, I see her winning, but Shanika Johnson's experienced as well. But I love how Ellie Scottney has kind of stepped up the ladders each opponent. I think it's been perfect so far. And then, you know, if Ellie does win, some big fights, potentially some big domestic fights as well in that division, which will be exciting. So, yeah, hopefully that gets announced. So, yeah.
I see Ellie winning that. But if she was to lose, it wouldn't blow my mind because, like I say, Neeks Johnson, she's not a pushover. She's not just someone just showing up just for that numbers. She's capable. She beat Suzy Rak up in the last fight, had that vicious cut on her face, still battered through, so she's got grit. Had fights with Shannon O'Connell, had other fights for the WBA ranking belt. So yeah, she's been in that mix. I'm expecting Ellie to win, but if she did lose, it wouldn't be a total shock to the system.
No,
like
and it also
Cederoos fight, kind of like that. I expect someone to win, but if they lost, I wouldn't be blown.
Yeah, and I feel like for Ellie, it's potentially a win-win. You know, if she lost, it's not the end of the world in the sense of she has stepped up. She doesn't win. You can kind of go back to the drawing board on that one and potentially say, you know, you've always got that thing of, oh, was it too early? We'll have a couple of fights, you know, similar to a Sandy Ryan situation. Obviously not at world level, that one, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. It wouldn't reduce her stock to the point where she wouldn't get another opportunity. So, yeah, but I do see I do see Ellie winning. And then there's some big fights. I mean, I'd like the Ellie Scottney, Shannon Courtney fight if Shannon was to move up, which I think she should move up to super bantam. I'd like that fight.
That's a good one. Yep. And all London and 20 cash.
Yeah. So that's a fight I would love to see in the future. And, you know, obviously ex-stablemates, I don't think the best of friends. I think it'd be quite a nice little build-up as well. So, yeah, I'd like that one in the future. That's on the bucket list.
Another fight I'm looking forward to is Sinistra Estrada versus
Tina Ruprecht. Yes, forgot all about that. Yes.
When is that?
March, is it? Is it March? Or am I making that up?
I want to see the 25th. I want to see the 25th. How can I forget about that fight?
I am so excited for that fight. So excited. But love both of them. Love watching both of them. It's going to be so like high-paced, high volume of punches. I can't wait.
This fight could have potentially happened 2 years ago, but
yeah,
I think 25th of March. I think Shanice had some issues with Golden Boy. She's now moving to top rank, and this fight's going to be set 25th of March. And then what's good to look forward to is that on the other side of the pond, Yoka, she's unified the other 2 titles. She's already made it very vocal that she would like to fight Sinisa. So once this fight's happened, there's no reason why there can't be an undisputed champion in this weight class before the end of the year. There's absolutely no reason why it can't happen.
And that'd be really exciting. Like, that'll be a huge fight because obviously with it being she's Golden Boy's new golden girl and having Sinisa having parted sort of bitterly really with them, it's going to be such a massive fight from that point of view. But also they're building up the fight nicely between them already, aren't they? Estrada and Yukasta. They, like, what is it she calls it? Yukaka, she calls her.
Really building up potential. Building up some.
So I think they're building.
Yeah. And then, I mean, if you're looking at Undisputed Day, I mean, there's not many divisions in women's boxing that won't be undisputed, which is just unreal. It is so, so good to see. But yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to that fight. So that's March 25th, isn't it? Where's that being held?
It's being held at Fresno, California. It's being held in California, Fresno, California.
I'm looking forward to that one. That'll be good. That'll be really good. Right. Well, been a pleasure as always. Everyone who's watching, don't forget, give it a like, subscribe, and then we'll be back next week. We'll see how right we were, see if our predictions were right, and let's hope the show lives up to the expectations because I'm so excited for the show on Saturday.
Definitely.
Cool. Right. See you then.